back at the baseball head. I did not think I was going to be back, but I'm happy to be back, to be honest with you. It was like talking to you all on YouTube. Well, a little breaking news. The Mets are going to call up Gary Sanchez, the former Yankee, former Minnesota Twin. I was going through his numbers. I didn't realize that Gary Sanchez has 154 home runs in his career. Now, as you know, the Mets are in desperate need of offense and are in desperate need of power. They've gotten only 5 home runs out of the designated hitter spot this season. And 2 of those home runs are from Daniel Vogelbach. Again, Mets aren't getting any production out of spots in this lineup. You cannot have these black holes. Now, Gary's coming here. I would expect the corresponding move will be Michael Perez will get probably DFA'd or get optioned back to AAA. The Mets are going to have an interesting call to make with the catching. I was reading an article earlier about how if they were to call Gary up, that all likelihood 3 weeks from now, Omar Narvaez is going to be ready, and that possibly Anito's going to be coming back from his situation with his eye. It's a possibility that Alvarez might get sent back down to AAA. I don't like that idea. I'd rather see them maneuver something with Vogelbach and do something with that. For the 7 years that Gary Sanchez has been a major league player, he's hit 20 home runs or more. He had 30 home runs in 2019. He had over 20 home runs 2 years ago with the New York Yankees. He's hit 40 home runs in the last 2 years. So obviously the Mets are bringing him in here, hoping that they get a little more of a jolt out of this offense. His OPS plus has been under 100 since 2019. So you're not going to get a lot out of him other than a home run here and there. And I would mention this again, his defense is subpar. He was making errors, I guess, in the minor leagues in the 7 games that he played for the Mets up in Syracuse. Now his OPS with the Syracuse Mets over those 7 games is over 1,000. Now the Mets had to decide, and Gary had to decide what he wanted to do. So the Mets decided to call him up because Gary had an opt-out on May 19th, which is Friday, which is tomorrow. So the Mets kind of just said, all right, we're just going to call him up. I would mention that the Mets general manager, Billy Epler, was in the Yankees' employment when Gary was in the minor leagues, and Gary was a young player with the Yankees as a rookie and as a younger player. So the general manager knows him well, which is a big reason why the Mets signed him after he was with the Giants and minor leagues, and he didn't do so hot, and they released him. 2 weeks into the season, the Mets called up Francisco Alvarez because Omar Narvaez hurt his leg, and he was basically was on the shelf for 8 weeks. Now, he's going to be coming off fairly soon, but they've used a lot of power over the last few weeks, because then at the end of April, the Mets called up Brett Beatty because he was raking in AAA, and Eduardo Escobar had gotten off to such a terrible start. There was a hole in the lineup, and Beatty has done a good job. He's held his own. He's played pretty solid defense. His bat's been in there. He put good bats together. Then, as you know, the other day, on Tuesday night, the Mets called up Mark Vientos. And as you know, Mark Vientos had a big home run in Wednesday's win against the Tampa Bay Rays. So this team is beginning to bring power into this lineup, because this team is not hit for a lot of home runs. And if you're not getting the kind of pitching that you should be getting, and you're getting shut out, you got to find a way to sort of win games, especially if your bullpen is pretty good. And the Met bullpen has actually been pretty solid over the first 6 weeks of the season. So the Mets are desperate for home runs. They're desperate for guys that hit the ball out in the ballpark. Desperate for guys to drive the ball into the gap. And they've not gotten that from Daniel Vogelbach, Eduardo Escobar up until recently, Mark Canha, Starlin Marte. That's 4 holes in your lineup. that you cannot survive. We've seen a rather average to mediocre beginning to Francisco Lindor's season. And I'm going to have a separate video on Lindor and what's going on in the Met leadership. It seems like there's no leadership in this clubhouse, which I'm concerned about. And it's not my concern, it's my concern for the next major league player. But you've seen slow starts from 4 guys. So the Mets have been bringing in these young guys, hoping that they can infuse some energy. Now, Sanchez, he's had a rather checkered Major League Baseball past in terms of his performance. He's a catcher that'll hit a lot of home runs. He's not a guy. He hits a lot of solo homers. He's a guy you can pitch to. But he hits one, it goes a long way. So they might be hoping to get lightning in the bottle for a couple weeks. I don't know what their plans are for him and with the catching situation. I don't know what their plans are for Vogelbach. Because Vogelbach's numbers are going downhill, and he's a .220 career hitter in his major league career. And he's around 237, 238 right now. He still has time to go down the tubes again. Go down to his average. But I have concerns still. But they have to play the kids. We'll see what happens with Sanchez, what the Mets' role is for him. Is he going to be a backup? Is he going to start Friday night against the Guardians? I don't know. We'll probably find out before the game what Gary's role was going to be. Because it seems like the role for Vientos isn't great. They sat him today against the Rays when he brought in a lot of energy and home run power. Well, you let me know what you think about this. Let me know what you think about this video. Let me know what you think about Gary Sanchez being here with the Mets. What are your expectations? And we'll see what happens. You know, they look much better against the Rays. They got a little fight in them. They had a signature win on Wednesday, and they came back and they won the second game out of 3 games against the Rays. A very good team. Best team in baseball. So that's very significant. So thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe to the Baseball Head. Thank you, and I'll see you later.